this is Dr. Silva, and this is my first short, so we'll see how it goes. I want to address people with anxiety out there. What I want to talk about in this quick short is how anxiety can sabotage treatment. And I've talked about this more at length in a couple of videos, The Secret Nature of Anxiety, please check that one out, as well as how anxiety can sabotage treatment. So please search those and watch for more detailed information if you're interested. But the message here is simply this. If you're someone who has been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder or panic disorder, if you've got OCD or social anxiety, social phobia, agoraphobia, any of the what I call major anxiety syndrome diagnoses, where it's genetic, you've been this way your whole life, you were a nervous kid, you're prone to catastrophizing, always thinking about the worst case scenario, constantly worrying, you can't calm yourself down, takes you a long time to fall asleep, etc., etc. And again, I have videos on these conditions that you can watch for more detailed information. But if you truly have endogenous anxiety that comes from within, that it really isn't the external things that are stressing you out. They're triggering you, but they're triggering your anxiety, and other people wouldn't react the way that you're reacting. Other people wouldn't feel overwhelmed. They wouldn't be panicking in some cases. If that's you, individuals, a lot of them don't even know that they have the condition because they've had it their whole lives. And so unless they're having panic attacks or unless they have OCD and it's pretty significant, they can go their whole lives not knowing. For them, how do you gauge your baseline anxiety? How do you compare yourself to other people? What's normal? Unless it's really, really severe, you're not going to even know sometimes. You're going to rationalize your emotions. I've got a video on that too. And you're going to ascribe the causality for the way that you're feeling to the thing that you are concerned about. But a lot of times you're dwelling on the past, something that happened a long time ago. It's not even happening right now. It's not real. Or it's anticipatory anxiety. You're worrying about something that might happen, might not happen, and half the time it's not going to happen. But at any rate, all that said, if that's you, anxiety is very sneaky. It doesn't want to be diagnosed and it doesn't want to be treated. What I mean by that is patients, they don't want to accept that there's something quote unquote wrong with them. And they don't want to submit to treatment because they worry about the treatment. They worry about the medicine, what the medicine is going to do to them, and whether they'll have to take it the rest of their lives or whether it will harm them, what the side effects are. And so it's hard to treat these patients because you have to be very careful with the dose. You have to start very low at a subtherapeutic dose and go very slowly. They're loath to give you informed consent for the medication. A lot of times they come to you for some other reason, and then when you diagnose them, they're reluctant. Finally, when they start taking medication, they come back. A lot of times they've stopped taking it, and they haven't called you to tell you what the problem was. But also, even if they're a little better, and it takes a while to get them better, sometimes they get a little worse before they get better, they're reluctant to increase the dosage. I'm talking fast because I'm running out of time. I'm gonna have to edit this or this is gonna be a little bit longer video. I don't think I'm gonna make my first short. But anyway, the other day I had a patient, this is what reminded me of this. I had a patient, and she was a little bit better on the medication, and I decided that we weren't gonna increase the dose yet because I wanted her body to really get used to the medicine so that when we did increase the dosage, she wouldn't get diarrhea and it would be just a real smooth transition. We were really kind of just testing the waters. And it was hard to know how much better she was because it was so subtle in her case, and it could take weeks and weeks for her to get better. That's the reason we decided that we were going to hold at the dosage we were at, because why be in a hurry? It's going to take time, and so it's a matter of timing and dosage, duration and dosage. So I expected her to continue to improve over time, even at the same dose. We talked about, okay, let's not increase the dose. And then the patient asked me, with a concerned look on her face, a disconcerted look, she said, is it possible that I'm not on the right dose? And when I pointed out that there it is, right there, the anxiety that we were wondering about, like how much residual anxiety is there? How close is she? I wasn't that sure that I was going to increase the dose because I was still trying to make an evaluation. In this case, she was a new patient. I think it was visit number 2. And the question was, could I be maybe on the wrong dose? And that worry, it was a reasonable question, and it was a good question. But I was able to discern from the affect and just from the way that it was asked that there it is right there, that anxiety that you're worried about. So what if you're on the wrong dose? We'll figure it out. It'll become obvious. We're thinking about increasing the dose anyway. There's no need to worry about it. The question was okay, but the worry was, in my opinion, symptomatic. And I know that I was right on target, because when I mentioned it, and I mentioned that other patients, it wouldn't have occurred to them after this discussion about, well, maybe we'll increase the dose, maybe we won't. I think this is generalized anxiety. You probably inherited it from your dad, blah, blah, blah. And the patient just, there was this smile, face lit up, the look of consternation evaporated, and it was replaced by a knowing smile. The patient was absolutely unaware that that was the anxiety right there. And that was the whole point, is that you have anxiety, you don't even know it. And the anxiety is causing that question. Now you're worried, not about increasing the dosage and taking more, which would have been the worry had we decided that. See, that's the point. Instead, worried about, well, am I maybe not on the right dose? Am I on the wrong dose? Oh my God, what if I'm on the wrong dose? And it wasn't even that well formed a worry, but it was catastrophizing. It wasn't even, it was just a vague what if. And if the patient had been allowed to sit with that concern long enough, there would have been a well-formed, well-crafted, oh, well, maybe this, maybe that, maybe the other, right? The mind would have filled in the blanks with all sorts of calamities about being on the wrong dose, which is irrational. That's the point. The anxiety is irrational. It's unnecessary. It's excessive. You don't have to worry about it. There's nothing bad that's going to happen if you're on the wrong dose. That just means that you're going to have to live with the anxiety that you've lived with your whole life a little bit longer. And you're on the medicine, which you weren't on before, so you're better anyway. And it's going to get better anyway, just on its own, even if the dose is not high enough, because time is another factor. And I'm talking fast because I'm trying to get it all in, but this is just going to be a regular video. Anyway, I hope all that makes sense. If you're one of those people and you go to treatment and you've delayed even doing that, and the provider starts to diagnose you and starts to recommend things, ask questions. By all means, you deserve to be informed. But if you're reluctant, if you're afraid, if you immediately start worrying about the implications of the treatment, that's just the anxiety itself. That's the thing right there, like a cancer that just wants to spread and evade chemotherapy and just keep growing and keep making you sick. Another patient that I had, this was years ago, he came to me for panic. So he had that syndrome of presumably poor serotonergic neurotransmission because he was prone to anxiety. I started him on Paxil. He came to me, it was like in 30 minutes that we were talking about starting Paxil. And as we wrapped up, so as it was getting to the point where we were going to stand up, walk over to my desk, and I was going to write the script for Paxil, he started to panic. It was mild. It wasn't like he had a full-blown panic attack in front of me, but he got very uneasy, very nervous, shifted in his seat, got this look on his face, lost eye contact, told me that he was starting to feel anxious, and I could see that he was starting to feel overwhelmed, that he was starting to have anxiety because now it was becoming real. We were embarking, and it was interesting because he wasn't in a state of anxiety talking about it, or there was no dread, there was no overt reluctance as we were discussing it. But then as it became a reality, and now we're going to do it, here we go, we're going to do it. And all the what ifs, maybe what if this is going to make it worse? What if it doesn't work? Whatever the case might be. I don't even know what it was that was worrying him because I didn't delve into that with him. It was not therapeutic to do so. But it was very interesting how the anxiety itself was like, wait a minute, not so fast. I don't want to be treated because it might be worse. Really, that was what the underlying, what was nebulous, but that was what the underlying. So he started to have what I would call a limited symptom panic attack. And we were able to nip it in the bud I just reassured him, and we moved to the desk, and I told him it was going to get better. But anyway, this is obviously not a short. I'm not going to be able to edit out too much of this. So I guess this is just an update on my much older video of how anxiety can sabotage treatment. Thank you for watching. Comments are always welcome.